Hello everyone, my name is Hash and Josh, and recently I've been grinding Pokemon Legends EA, particularly the online ranked mode. I managed to climb up to rank A, and in doing so, I've learned so many helpful tips that I need to share with you guys. Remember to leave a like down below if you find this video helpful, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Legends EA content. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is creating the optimal moveset for your Pokemon. So obviously in Pokemon and in Legends EA, we're going to have 4 moves in one moveset on each Pokemon. So how should we build our movesets and make them as optimal as possible for ranked matches? So first things first, if your Pokemon gets access to any setup move, so Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, even Calm Mind to an extent. If you get any of those moves on any of the Pokemon you want to use, then I highly recommend just slapping them in there. You can see Swords Dance is on my Feraligatr. Nasty Plot should be on my Greninja, but unfortunately I haven't unlocked the TM yet. Swords Dance on Scolipede, Calm Mind on Drampa, and then No Retreat on Failing since that's the signature, and Swords Dance on Skarmory and so on. So yeah, just setup moves are great because obviously they boost up your damage, and ranked matches are all about just getting the last hits and getting points from the last hits. So yeah, that's one move within your moveset locked, any setup move that your Pokemon gets access to. The next thing I would definitely put in there is just your strongest stab moves. So for Feraligatr, in Mega, Outrage is its strongest stab move because it becomes a Water Dragon type, and Outrage is a 120 base hit power Dragon move. Greninja, I guess it's just Surf. Water Shuriken is technically less BP, so Surf would just be your strongest move on Greninja. Scolipede gets a lot. Gunk Shot and Mega Horn, I've just thrown both in there. Drampa, Draco Meteor goes crazy in this game. Phalanx is definitely CC, and then Skarmory is Brave Bird. So yeah, you're just trying to pick up KOs for points, right? So you want to go the strongest move possible in order to potentially one-shot opponents and securing those easy points. So a lot of these moves that are high BP also are generally very big AoE. So if you ever see opponents clumped up, or if you're trying to third party 2 enemies that are fighting each other, moves like Outrage, Draco Meteor just does do so much AoE. So you can potentially just pick up numerous kills. And the next thing I would add is a lower cooldown move, because those strong moves that I was talking about, Outrage, Draco Meteor, whatnot, they're very good for being up KOs. However, if you fail to pick a KO up, or if it's just on cooldown in general, they have very long cooldowns. Outrage, I believe, is around 12 seconds. Draco Meteor is around the same as well. So anytime you use these moves and they go on cooldown, you're going to want to have something to hit opponents with, especially if they're remaining on 1 HP and all you need is just to tickle them a little bit to get that last hit KO. So moves like Aqua Jet, Wing Attack, Steel Wing on Skarmory, Brick Break on Phalanx, even U-Turn on Scolipede. All these lower PP moves that generally you might not think to use in regular Pokemon actually do get a lot of usage within Pokemon Legends EA just because of the fact that they have lower cooldowns. And if you run into enemies that are just 1 HP and you just need to hit them a little bit to get the KO, then you'd rather go for a Wing Attack that activates quickly rather than a Brave Bird that takes like a second to wind up, right? So that's why I would recommend having some kind of short cooldown move. Yeah, those are the 3 moves I would 100% have in any moveset, and as for that last 4th move slot, it really just depends on what your Pokemon gets access to. So for example, if we're looking at Scolipede, we have Swords Dance, Gunk Shot, Mega Horn, 2 really good stab moves, 1 setup move. And for its 4th move, I wanted to give it something to kind of retreat after it's on cooldowns. So U-Turn not only does a great amount of damage, but it also will automatically make Scolipede return to the position of the trainer. So if I were to command Scolipede to go in with a Mega Horn, dash in, and then afterwards I want to follow up with a U-Turn, it'll click that, and then it'll teleport to me. So moves like U-Turn, Volt Switch, Teleport, and even Parting Shot all have this effect where it'll make the Pokemon instantly teleport to the trainer, and they're basically just pivot moves, right? My final recommendation would just be to throw in some kind of coverage move. On Greninja, where it's supposed to be Nasty Plot, I ended up just throwing Ice Beam, which is going to be coverage for Dragonites. You see them a lot. Mega Salamence I see decently as well. So Ice Beam is just kind of to hit those guys super hard. A lot of those players don't expect the Ice Beams like Greninja. So yeah, coverage moves just do pretty well in this game. Generally, I would still prefer just spamming really strong stab moves to pick up KOs in neutral game, but having coverage can surprisingly help out. If you're running T-Bolt on some random, like for example, you can run T-Bolt on Drampa, Charizards and freaking Skarmories won't expect that, right? So yeah, you could run like T-Bolt on Drampas as well just to hit those guys. Not to mention Greninjas and Feraligatrs are pretty much everywhere right now in ranked, so having T-Bolt as a coverage move is pretty valuable to hit those guys as well. So yeah, that's how I would build a moveset on a Pokemon. Now let's jump into how I pretty much engage every battle whenever I jumped into a ranked battle. So the first thing to do is just set up, right? You're gonna spawn at the start of the game. You're gonna spawn away from all the trainers, and as you run closer to them, you're gonna get in range to lock on them. And the second you do, just immediately go for Swords Dance. So run in on this training dummy. Once I can lock, just use Swords Dance, and then if you're next to your Pokemon, then they'll just use it right next to you, and you can set up from a safe distance. And once you have set up like this, I have Swords Danced up on Scolipede. The next thing to do is generally follow up with a move that's just not going to make your Pokemon run up really slowly and hit them. So, for example, on Feraligatr, that's a really good move for this. So I'll set up the Swords Dance, and then rather than making it just run up and use Liquidation, we're going to use Aqua Jet to quickly just teleport in, and now we're in melee range to go for Liquidation. It's a really strong move in Outrage. And this is all while we're boosted from Swords Dance, so make sure to just do that prior. So yeah, moves that just travel really fast, Quick Attack, Aqua Jet, Drill Run, Mega Horn, even CC and Phalanx will set up with No Retreat from distance. And then if the opponent tries to run away from you as you're using CC, you can kind of see that the Phalanx will actually like dash forward while using CC. That actually homes in on the target. So even if they try and run away, it'll just kind of home in on them with CC once they are locked on. So that's a really good move for gap closing as well. But yeah, Mega Horn is really good. Just look at the way Scolipede just goes, dashes in. Just starting attacks from distance with moves like that is just so free. You're gonna set up from range, and then you're gonna try and from a distance just close in with Mega Horn. Even before Mega Horn, if you have ranged moves like Gunk Shot, for example, you can throw that out as well to kind of start a fray, and then just go in with Mega Horn afterwards. And then once you're kind of done if you're throwing all your moves, you can go for U-turn, pivot out, and then now my Swords Dance is back up. I'll set up again and do that all over again. So yeah, that is generally how you'll play at the start of every match, and also just at the start of every time you respawn, right? Set up, go in with your gap closing move, and get all your damage out. You can even use moves like Dig, or Fly, or Phantom Force, or even Dive, if that's even in the game. So those moves are generally pretty frowned upon in regular competitive Pokemon, because obviously it gives your opponent one turn to react to your damage. So generally it's never used, but in this game it's actually has some very good usage, because in a 1v1v1v1 free-for-all, there's so many people like distracted by other opponents that you can kind of sneak a dig real quick, and no one may notice you doing it, and then out of nowhere someone's gonna realize that there's a burrow under them, and out comes Exodrill, and then I can follow up with like a Drill Run. Drill Run is another great gap closing move, by the way. Dashes super far. So yeah, those kind of moves, particularly Phantom Force, because I believe it does have the Protect Negation effect in this game as well. Those moves not only do a really good job at gap closing in, but also kind of act as a way to go invincible once you can get the move off, because obviously it does have a decent windup. It takes like about a second or two for Exodrill to actually get in the ground first, but once it does, that makes it invulnerable for like a solid 3 seconds, and then it will home in on the target and pop, come out, and then I can follow it up with a Drill Run or something. And then I could even throw out my coverage move here with Rock Slide. I kind of bring that for Talonflames. Rock Slide is great, by the way, if your Pokemon gets access to it, because not only does it have a random chance to flinch, but it has a pretty low cooldown. It is only 7 seconds, solid BP, and just the fact that it can flinch as well makes it a pretty good move that you could throw on really any Pokemon that gets access to it. And following up on what I was talking about with Rock Slide being a really good light attack, always make sure to finish off opponents with 1 HP with your lower cooldown moves. So if I just start an engagement with Draco Meteor, and if for some reason that just doesn't one-shot the target and don't kill, just quickly followed up with a Hyper Voice. It activates decently fast, yeah, like a second or two after it's commanded. Really good AoE, and the cooldown is quite low. As you can see, even though I used Draco Meteor prior, Hyper Voice pretty much came up a second afterwards. It's only an 8-second cooldown. And Trampa's a really slow Pokemon. Let's actually use this on a relatively fast Pokemon, like Phalanx. We're going to use No Retreat to actually set up our speed, because it's an Omni boost. And then I'll jump in with like a CC, which is my strongest move. And then if that happens to leave him on 1 HP, I can quickly just follow up with a Brick Break and finish it. So yeah, having those light attack moves always at the ready to finish off an opponent. I also have Iron Head for potential flinches. I can follow it up quickly with a Brick Break. Yeah, just having those moves are really nice, especially in a game where pretty much last hitting your opponent matters the most, because that's just how you get points, right? Alright, so once you're done hitting your opponent with all your strong attacks and whatever and whatnot, and you're trying to get out of the battle, get out of combat since you're on cooldowns, you're gonna need to defend yourself, right? Otherwise you're just leaving yourself exposed to die to whatever whatever Mega Dragonite Draco Meteor that's coming in. So there's a couple things you could do in this game. We already talked about one already, but we'll go in order here. First things first, Protect is a universal move that every Pokemon in this game gets, at least to my knowledge. At least all the important Pokemon get Protect in this game. And even some Pokemon will get access to Detect, like Scrafty, for example. Always go that, by the way, because it has a 2-second lower cooldown than Protect. So if your Pokemon gets access to Detect, pretty much always go that over Protect. But Protect itself, it's just simple, right? Let's say my Electros is on cooldowns. After using Zap Cannon, I'll get the stun off, get the Electro Webs down, and then, oh no, I'm on cooldowns with my moves, and now I'm vulnerable to getting hit. Just whatever attacks coming in, just time it right with Protect. It has around a 2-second window of invincibility, and then it'll kind of go away. And the activation is almost instant. So if you see a move coming in, you can kind of time it pretty much exactly at the moment you're going to get hit, and you'll just get the Protect. Yeah, like I think it's one of the fastest activation moves in the game. Just it activates really quickly. So yeah, just use that to dodge attacks or block attacks, and then just get your cooldowns up slowly. And then another way, as we were talking about earlier, is to use pivot moves. I have Volt Switch on my Electros on top of Protect. So after I'm done protecting, generally I'll try and Volt Switch, position my trainer away from the whatever opponent it is, and just get away and just let my cooldowns come back in, and then I'll go for the Zap Cannon Electro Web combo again. So yeah, Protect, pivot moves like U-turn, Volt Switch, Parting Shot, all great ways to just get away from your opponent or block your opponent and just let your cooldowns come back. Like I just pivoted there, I can try and set up Swords Dance again, and like once my cooldowns are back, I'll go back in and fight, yada yada. So yeah, I mean, those are the best ways to really defend yourself in the game. But actually, sorry, the actual best way to defend yourself in this game for a good period of time is just by using your Mega Gauge. So let's say my Scolipede has no U-turn, has no anything, and it's just no cooldowns at all, and I'm just kind of in a tricky spot, and there's a Mega Dragonite that's about to use Hurricane on me. I can use my Mega Gauge to Mega Evolve my Pokemon, and not only does that let me just go invincible for a solid 2 seconds, similar to Protect, but you also become untargetable, which means if the opponent didn't lock a move on you already, they can't lock on you while you're Mega-ing, so that could really throw some people off. And then once you get that Mega off, you can go for like a quick Mega Horn or something. Generally try and set up before you Mega, by the way, because you can just do that from range anyway, right? Just do a Swords Dance right here, and then let's say I go in, use a Mega to dodge an attack, and just quickly catch them by surprise with like a Mega Horn or something. That's generally how you should play that. Alright, now that we're done talking about basic combat and just how to master attacking and defending in this game, it's time to actually go over some additional tips that'll help you win your Pokemon Legends EA ranked matches. So if you didn't notice already, for each life, you have a maximum of 3 switches that you can make with your Pokemon. When you first spawn in, you can switch once, switch a second time, and then once you switch into that third Pokemon, you're essentially just locked onto that third Pokemon until you die. Switching is really important to learn because you can pretty much just get away from super effective hits that your opponent may be throwing at you. So let's say you're on field of Mega Feraligatr, and then a Gardevoir is just chucking a Moonblast at you. You're going to quickly swap into your Scolipede and just eat the damage, right? So make sure to switch strategically. Don't just swap randomly by yourself when you're like not near anyone, because you're pretty much just wasting the ability to just dodge super effective hits and get momentum. And the last thing I want to talk about real quickly is screens. I've seen a lot of people in my ranked matches use Reflect and Light Screen because it just grants their team physical damage reduction and special damage reduction respectively. It works pretty much the same way as it does in regular Pokemon, where it'll just set up the screens, and then just whatever Pokemon comes in on your team will just have those screens effects until it goes away. It definitely is ideal to have screens set up for your carry, but you gotta keep in mind that using screens on your support and then swapping into your carry is using one of those switches out of the 3 switches you get for each life. So definitely keep that in mind when you're making that play. I still think it is going to be a quite meta strategy to set up screens for your carry, but it does limit the amount of switches you're going to make essentially before you die, right? Since you're pretty much automatically doing one switch by going from your screen setter to your carry, and your opponents may catch wind of this and maybe make planned switches around whatever play you just made. So yeah, do keep that in mind when you're using screens. It does make you a little bit predictable when it comes to your remaining switches. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about for my pro tips and tricks for getting to rank A in Pokemon Legends ZA ranked. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at rank A in Pokemon Legends ZA. Peace out.